on the organised crime thing,
Yeah.
and you might not want to talk about this, so if you don't, I understand. But how much consideration do you have to make for yourself right now?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm in quite a difficult position with this because I really want to get to the bottom of this story, obviously, and I feel like there's a lot of expectation for me to do that. I'm lucky that I've had millions of people listen to this podcast, are interested in the story, reading the book, all the rest of it, and they look to us to be the ones that are going to solve it. But I don't want to get myself killed for it. You know what I mean? Like as much as I want to find her, I don't want to end up.
See, I see it slightly differently. Like as a mate, I want you to be okay, and I want you to keep doing good investigative journalist work. But at the same time, I think the only reason for you to keep doing it is to create more entertainment for people. But this is now in the hands of the right people to solve it, who've got the resources to do it. So I don't think you should feel any obligation to carry it on.
It's not It's not so much an obligation. I guess I feel very lucky that so many people want to listen to our investigation.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me, obviously, having done it for so long, I just want to see it resolved. If I'm perfectly honest with you, it's a bit frustrating for it to be up in the air all the time, like constantly hanging over me. Where is she? What's happened to her? I would be so happy if I got a phone call tomorrow saying the FBI have got her. It's over. And I can go to America and sit in on the trials, watch them unfold, and I don't have to worry about it anymore, and I'll move on to something else. But all the time it's out there and she's somewhere, I feel like it's sort of annoying for me. Dedicated so much of my life to it, I can't really just easily walk away. So I'm trying to walk the tightrope. I'm not just going to walk away because I'm scared.
Yeah.
But there's probably places that I'm not willing to just rock up in Dubai, start banging on doors.
No. It's unnecessary risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure it out. I mean, at the BBC, you've got great security advisors and they'll say you probably shouldn't go here, but you probably are all right going there. And so going back to Bulgaria, for example, it's a bit risky, but the way I see it with organised crime groups, and I don't actually want to investigate organised crime groups. I don't. I just want to find her.
Yeah.
And they're in the way of that. And so I don't want to, if you're listening, organised crime groups, I'm not interested in you lot. Just tell me where she is, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, this show's actually quite popular in the underworld of Bulgaria.
Right, that's good to know. Yeah. She might be listening.
Well, it's only criminals that listen to Bitcoin shows.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So for example, part of the thinking is organised criminals are very, very clever business people. They're not stupid. It would be more trouble for them to get rid of me. Wouldn't want to do it. It'd be idiotic. And they're smart people, so they probably will leave us alone, because why would they want to draw more attention to themselves? So you think, okay, well, that's good. That's quite safe. So I feel confident with that. But it's a bit nerve-wracking.
Have you received any threats?
Nothing serious. No. I'd like to tell you that that I have and I'm really brave, but no, I just sort of get left alone, left to get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, look,
paranoia in your head though, isn't it? Sometimes
Yeah.
it can freak you out in your head. You can imagine all sorts of things, and that can be just as scary.
Well, look, I listened to the original series and we made a podcast, and that was great. And then I've listened to these two additional ones, and honestly, on the way down when we re-listened to it, I was just thinking more of as a mate, there is some serious people involved, and I just, on a personal perspective, I don't think there is an obligation.
Well, what would you do if you're in my position? Just walk away and leave it?
No, I'd put it a different way. I think if you felt like walking away, there shouldn't be any guilt.
Yeah.
I just don't think. Look, I went into the Venezuelan slums without security because I found it exciting.
Yeah.
I think you should do whatever you want. That's it. If you want to carry on. If you don't, don't. But don't feel an obligation. You've materially contributed to the investigation, and when she is found, then you will have played a major role in that. I just don't think you have an obligation to the audience to find her. That said, I can imagine if I was you, this there's a niche now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's different.
Just hanging around me all the time. Everyone wants to know, and I want to know, I mean, I've been doing it for 4 years now. Imagine one thing for 4 years. And it's so infuriating because it could be any day. Every now and again, I expect my phone to ring and someone say, "Oh my God, have you seen the news? They've got her. It's brilliant." I'll be so bloody pleased because I feel like I could wrap it up.
I kind of want the phone to ring one day and it's her talking to you.
Yeah, I'd love that too. But originally, I think my expectations changed because when we started this, I really thought there was a chance that we'd find, tap on the shoulder, get a sighting of her. But now with everything that's happened, I've got to be realistic. I'm not going to knock on a door and she's there. I'm not going to spot her in a building somewhere. So it's more just, I suppose, just working out what we can now do without getting ourselves in serious danger. And there are a lot of things we can still do.
Is it a case that the more you investigate, the more information you find, which gives you more leads, which starts to then make it feel even harder? Like, where do we go?
Yeah, a little bit. That is very true. Yeah, and that's a problem. You've got to know where to stop because you can follow this story in a million different directions. So yeah, and the reality is as well, for people that listen to this, they don't actually care that much about organised crime or money laundering, because you've heard it all a million times. They just want to know, where did she go? Where is she now?
You want to catch
That's
the baddie.
it. Yeah, that's it. And I'm very conscious of that. So I could say, when podcasts go off on these little tangents and they're like, okay, let's do an episode and it's going to all be about organised crime and how it works. People don't care. They just want to know what happened to this woman. So I've got to be a little bit... we're trying to only put episodes out now which are really about that, like getting closer to it.
That was a good thing. It doesn't feel stretched out, and people can do that. And it could feel like, oh, here's another 10 episodes, and you're really kind of dragging it out. And although I did think, when you made episode 11, once you got the memory stick, you could have ended on that, because I was like, I want to know what's on that memory stick. that would have brought me into another episode.
Yeah, but you've got to wait for ages, and you'll have forgotten about it by the time it comes out. That's the thing.
So where now? What now with it? Where do you go with it now? Or is that like, do we have to wait?
You have to wait a little bit because of all the things I've said.
Right.
We've got to work out what we can say and what we can't say. Basically, the way we left it is we went to interview this guy, Frank Schneider. He's under house arrest in France. He gives us a memory stick and basically says, this has got the answers. This is going to help you find her. It talks about loads of other stuff that we haven't really gone into. And we are still combing through that. 3 hours of... Here's one of the strangest things that, for anyone that didn't listen, and the whole story is very Netflixy, I suppose. Dr. Rouge's boyfriend ends up working for the FBI and then records the phone calls that he's having with Rouge before she disappears. But what he doesn't realise is, because of these Europol things, Rouge knows that the FBI are onto her. So she's recording the phone calls as well. And Frank Schneider gives us a memory stick with 3 hours of phone calls right up to the point she disappears between Rouge and her boyfriend. And we're still combing through all of that for little clues. But both sides, they both know that the others, they both suspect that the other's recording. So the whole thing is so strange. There's loads of... The other thing here is like loads of documents about companies and things like that. And who wants to listen to a podcast episode that's about company X was owned by person Y, who owned another holding company in the British Virgin Islands? And that can also, but
you say
too
that
much of that and it can get quite boring as well. So we're working through it all, trying to figure out, how does this get closer to her?
But in London, you did put up a slide about the structure of the companies.
Yeah.
And that was fascinating. But it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And maybe that works because we had the visual
Yeah.
that you can see about this kind of crazy structure. I was thinking, one of the questions I had on the way about this all is like, is there, in terms of personal finances for me, right? At the end of each month, I do my personal finances.
Right.
And I've got bank account A, I've got this, bank account B, I've got this, savings, I've got that. And on my Bitcoin side, it's like wallet A's got this, wallet B's got that, wallet C. And I just know where everything is. I just keep an eye on, I know what it all is. Is there like a master account for where this money is? Because it's clearly distributed everywhere into assets, accounts. And if so, who manages it? Or is it separate? Like, I'm really intrigued to how she's managing the flows of those money, the flow of that money and the pots of that money.
Yeah, it's very complicated. I'm still trying to work it out myself, to be honest, because you've got all the four, let's say 4 billion's invested. I've calculated that about a third of that went back out in payments to the multi-level marketers.
Okay.
Because you got commission payments. So you're getting your 10% for every OneCoin package that you sell. So she had to come up with a very clever way of paying tens of thousands of people every week the money they'd earn from selling OneCoin packages to other people.
And did she pay that in dollars or was she paying that in OneCoin?
She paid that in 60% fiat and 40% OneCoin. The whole thing's really complicated. So there was all of that she had to deal with and worry about. And she had accountants and all sorts of things. Her boyfriend owned a bank, and I think the boyfriend's bank was providing credit cards, but it's all very, very complicated. But then there was her own personal wealth. So she's buying houses in Sofia. She bought properties in Sofia. She bought a £13.9 million Kensington penthouse. She had bulletproof Lexuses, all loads of cars. Then she had 4 $100 million British Virgin Island regulated investment funds. And the OneCoin money that the investors are paying in was ending up being disguised as investments from wealthy European families into these British Virgin Island investment funds, which were then going to buy other companies that Ruja ultimately owned, but none of it was in her name. And this was the way that she was turning some of the OneCoin money into sort of legitimate investments that she owned. And then she owned houses in Dubai. According to Frank Schneider, there's €1 billion still out there in bank accounts in China, in Dubai, in Australia, and I think South Korea. But I can't just phone up like the Chinese. I mean, so you hit a brick wall when you're following the money. I know that's the journalistic adage, isn't it? Like follow the money. Yeah, but I can't follow it everywhere. So we're piecing it together and we're finding things here, there, and everywhere. Like I think she may have done something with online casinos in Malta, but you hit a bit of a dead end. I think she put money into a Luxembourg trust fund, but you hit a dead end. You can't get past it. You can't see anything more. So you piece together little things here and there, but more often than not, you just kind of you hit these like on paper owners that are, very commonly she would have a lawyer would own it for her.
Yeah.
So the person that was technically the owner of her London family office was a 27-year-old Cypriot woman and a former manager of Pizza Hut, also from Cyprus, who were registered to an address in Dubai. And they were the owners of her London family office. Where am I going to go with that? I mean, firstly, what do companies' house in the UK do about that? That's so dodgy looking. She like this multi-millionaire crypto genius, and it's a Cypriot Pizza Hut manager who's the owner of her family office in London. Come on. But just no one does anything about it.